Sunday morning at the Hungary, and it's the Blancpain GT Sports Club. They had the qualifying race yesterday. That had a twist in the tail. Their main race, the 40-minute feature, kicking off play this morning. And we have on pole position Patrick van Glabeke, who won yesterday's race, but he wasn't first to the finish because that was Anthony Ponce. But Anthony had to pick up a 30-second penalty. He was one of 3 drivers being pinged for not slowing when yellow flags were waved, and that dropped Ponce back to 6th place. So we'll see him starting from there this morning in the 72 Mercedes. Humidity was 55% yesterday, only 38 now. A much nicer morning here just outside Budapest. You can see the heat haze coming off the track. Yesterday we hit 36 degrees. Looks set to be about the same today. So a wonderful, wonderful late summer weather here in Hungary. And for the Blancpain GT Sports Club, a second chance to race here. And for those who've got a little time on their hands, that's the Aqua Park over above the exit of Turn 5. The drivers, when they're feeling hot in the cockpit, will be able to look up and see those who are having a rather cooler time. But a great Grand Prix circuit for all these drivers to get out on in their GT3 cars. This is the championship, started 2 years ago for gentlemen drivers to the bronze level. That's amateur level drivers. And there's a special class within the class. There's the championship points. There's Anthony Ponce, who's way out clear. Had he won yesterday's race, I haven't quite done the maths, but he could have wrapped up the whole title. But Karim Oj didn't get any points yesterday. In fact, he had a little off at the far side of the circuit and did damage to the engine. It ingested something, and they've had to change the engine on his BMW M6. So no night sitting by the Danube having supper for the Buisson-Gignon crew. But Anthony Ponce really in a predominant position. 25 points up for grabs today, and the next time out, the final race of the championship at Barcelona, 33 to play with. So doing the maths there, that makes a total of 58 points to play for, and he's very nearly that far clear. So a good run today, and he should wrap up the title here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's starting 6th, and it's an all-Ferrari front row. AF Corsa Ferraris, the 488, numbered 488, of Patrick van Glabeke, yesterday's winner, and Christoph Ulrich alongside, who pushed so hard in the 51 Ferrari. Then Klaus-Dieter Freres in his Ferrari on the 2nd row, along with Kessel Racing, and that's Stephen Earle at the top of the tree. So it's all Ferraris on the top 2 rows. Klaus-Dieter Freres, the winner yesterday of the Iron Cup for drivers aged 60 and over. They all love their racing, and for the older ones to have a cup to aim for, all the better. But they're getting closer and closer to the very front end. But here's Patrick van Glabeke, who really did a great job. Took pole position yesterday, was beaten very early in the race by Anthony Ponce, who worked his way to the front. And Ponce then pulls easily clear. But Ponce is starting 5 places further back on the grid. There's Christoph Ulrich on the outside the front row. The Swiss racer really put up a good performance yesterday. Car looking immaculate in the morning sunshine. It's 25 to 11 here at the Hungary. Crowds still pouring in for this big event at the end of August. Going back to the 2nd row, slightly darker red on Klaus-Dieter Freres' 488 GT3. He won the Iron Cup, as I said, and his rival and challenger in the red and black Ferrari alongside is the surgeon from the United States, Stephen Earle. But Klaus-Dieter Freres for Artiga Rennsport going better and better. In fact, yesterday was his best result of the year. It was his 4th win in the Iron Cup, but his best result until yesterday was 6th position. Stephen Earle, super enthusiastic, also racing in the Blancpain GT Sports Cup. He was 4th yesterday, and likewise, that was his best result of the season. Coach McKenzie, with the demotion of Anthony Ponce and Alexis Bernardi, moved up 2 positions, the only Lamborghini driver in the race. Coach McKenzie, very, very distinctive livery he has. And there is Anthony Ponce, who had it all under control, but didn't slow sufficiently when they went past Karim Oj's stricken number 2 BMW. But thumbs up from him. He knows he's got this pretty much in the bag, but he'll want to do it in style. He won't want to come around in 6th place. He will want to do it from the front. Yesterday he went from 2nd into 1st after a lap and a half, and today he's going to try and do a very similar charge. So let's ride up and take a look at the grid, and I hope we'll see that Karim Oj's BMW has been readied. But on the front row, go past the front row, and then the 2nd row is Artiga Rennsport with Klaus-Dieter Freres, Stephen Earle, Coach McKenzie, and on the other side of the grid, Anthony Ponce. Then we go back to Alexis de Bernardi, another driver who was pushed down. Christian Hook for Rinaldi Racing, the black and green liveried Ferrari on the right-hand side. Then it's Oliver Baumann in his Mercedes and Louis-Philippe Sonnen. So I'm afraid the battle hasn't been won by Buisson-Gignon Racing. It's a non-start for Karim Oj, so that's a shame. We've lost the one and only BMW in the race. And Karim has been going He's had an up and down sort of day, but it was definitely down at the end. He dropped it at the far side of the circuit, went off. There was damage to the front left suspension, but unfortunately some dirt or some debris got into the engine and it went pop. Would work no more. So leading around, getting yet another view of this circuit. The pole man, Patrick van Glabbeker, 40 minutes of racing today. Yesterday it was a 25-minute qualifying race. No pit stops though, they're out there for 40 minutes of flat out racing. So there's Louis-Philippe Sonnen, his AF Corsa Ferrari, bringing up the rear of the pack. And Patrick van Glabbeker and Christoph Ulrich, today's front row, so closely matched in terms of speed. Klaus-Dieter Freres has been there or thereabouts, still a little bit erratic. And Stephen Earle just kept picking his way forward up the field. In fact, they're running in the wrong order right there, because it seems on the formation lap Earle has got ahead of the third qualifier, Klaus-Dieter Freres. I'm sure that will be amended by the time they complete this formation lap. And then down in 6th place is the gunmetal grey with yellow flashes, the ACA ASP Mercedes of Anthony Ponce. And let's take another look at the starting grid. Patrick van Glabbeker in his 488 ahead of the older 458 Italia of Christoph Ulrich. Then Klaus-Dieter Freres, again it's a 488 and a 458 because Stephen Earle in the older 458 Italia, Coach McKenzie in the Lamborghini Huracan, and Anthony Ponce in the Mercedes AMG. And a 458 Italia of Alexis de Bernardi, that's the black, blue and yellow one, and the black and green 458 of Christian Hook. And then what now is the final row of the grid, Oliver Baumann in the SLS, the older AMG Mercedes shape, there it is, and Louis-Philippe Sonnen, the Belgian racer, also in the Iron Cup. So 3 runners in the Iron Cup, Klaus-Dieter Freres and Stephen Earle on row number 2, and Louis-Philippe Sonnen, the only other driver over 60, down in the white and green Ferrari, bringing up the rear. Far to go now, that's turn 12 leading into turn 13, so the safety car, the Audi safety car, will be pulling off very shortly indeed into pit entry. And again, trying to keep their 2x2 formation will be the 10 cars ready to take the start of this, the penultimate round of the Blancpain GT Sports Club, the finale, as I mentioned, in Barcelona as September fuses into October. So Patrick van Glabbeker on pole position on the pit wall side. Klaus-Dieter Freres again trying to tuck it in as close as he can on the outside of the front row now, trying to pull up level as they look to the lights on the starting gantry, which are red. Now they go green and off they go. Very good start by Anthony Ponce. Alexis Bernardi going with him. They're going to get past Coach McKenzie by the look of things. But importantly for Patrick van Glabbeker, our poleman, he has his nose, it's actually not in front because, well, Christoph Ulrich, very brave down the outside. And yesterday he tried several times to get past van Glabbeker into turn 1, went up the inside and each time was given an enormous chop, so a little bit of a score settling there. And Coach McKenzie's got his way up into 4th place from 5th. I thought he was going to be past. He's right in behind Stephen Earle. And Ponce has decided to make the challenge all the harder because he made a good getaway. I think he tripped over the back of Coach McKenzie. Now down in 9th place, he's behind the other Mercedes, the older Mercedes of Oliver Baumann. Well, that'll make it interesting over 40 minutes because we know in terms of pace he ought to have enough, but he's got to pick his way past. And the Hungaroring isn't always the easiest circuit on which to do overtaking, so I didn't see what happened on the run to turn 1. He was certainly going well as he passed the my commentary position by the starting gantry. Now he's trapped behind Oliver Baumann as they come out of turn 5 up towards the chicane of turn 6 and 7. Not close enough to make a move, so he's going to have to wait. Christoph Ulrich starting to eke his way clear of the pole starter Patrick van Glabbeker. Down they come, all orderly, and frustration starting to build in the cockpit of the 72 ACA ASP Mercedes. If he thought this was going to be an easy run to work his way towards the front and land the championship title, he's got the work cut out for himself. Down through turn 11 they go. He would maybe be able to pick one off down the start-finish straight, but all along, yeah, but he's got even before turn 12. There's Anthony Ponce going past Oliver Baumann, who I think was complicit there, thought, you can come through, I know you're faster than me. So now, let's see, Ponce in the 72 is going to have to try and get on the tail of the next car up the line, which should be Christian Hook. Yes, it is. It's the black and green Rinaldi Ferrari. But he's not close enough to challenge him into turn 1. Let's see what the gap is between Christoph Ulrich, 0.68 of a second over Patrick van Glabbeker. Stephen Earle tucked in behind, another 1.5 seconds down, but he's got Coach McKenzie right under his tail. You can see Earle, the red Ferrari with the black hood and hat, if you will, the bonnet and the roof. But Coach McKenzie, I said he was really picking up his pace yesterday. Alexis de Bernardi tucked in behind him in 5th place, and then Klaus-Dieter Freres, who just didn't make the best of starts, got a little bit monstered through the second part of turn 1, and that's why he's back into 6th place. Still haven't seen good reason why Anthony Ponce lost so much ground. There is Ponce in 8th position now. Behind him he's got Baumann and Louis-Philippe Sonnen bringing up the rear in the white and green AF Corsa Ferrari. 0.68 of a second, the gap between first and second. It's going out very, very slightly, but at different points on the circuit, Patrick van Glabeke is able to fight back. Coach McKenzie going as he's never gone before in that HP Racing Lamborghini, really getting to grips with it. Round this, a very technical circuit. The 6 and 7 chicane, and certainly Christoph Ulrich yesterday was doing exactly as he has today, attacking it all the more. Christian Hook also riding very comprehensively over the curbing at turn 7, and Anthony Ponce, no stranger to bouncing the curbs there either. Right now he's on the tail of Christian Hook, Rinaldi Ferrari, but all to do for the ACA ASP Mercedes. And who was the fastest driver through the first sector on this lap? Christian Hook, down in 7th place. No doubt the sight of Anthony Ponce behind him has encouraged him to press on as he's never pressed on before. Get into the second sector, and it's our race leader, Christoph Ulrich, who is starting to gain a 10th here, a 10th over Patrick van Glabeke. Coach McKenzie now starting to get frustrated behind Stephen Earl, getting close but not able to make a passing manoeuvre. And they're now starting to drop away from the tail of the leading battle. In terms of out and out speed, Stephen Earl does not have the pace of the two at the front, Ulrich and van Glabeke. Coach McKenzie sticking again in the slipstream, so close to Stephen Earl you can hardly see the Lamborghini until they start cresting the brow and coming down the hill. Now Alexis de Bernardi has right behind him, pushing very hard, Klaus-Dieter Freres. Christian Hook doing just enough down into turn 1 to hold off the charging Anthony Ponce. Gap between first and second did go out by 0.2 of a second to 0.87 of a second between Christoph Ulrich in the lead. 35 minutes and a bit of this race remaining time for plenty to happen. You can be fairly sure that Anthony Ponce, unless he makes a slip up and goes too far round the outside of a driver, he will pick his way up the order. But look how Christoph Ulrich is attacking the curbs. That was the inside of turn 4, a very, very tricky and quick corner. He was fully committed, probably didn't need to catch quite as much curb as he did. Now Klaus-Dieter Freres starting to attack Alexis de Bernardi. This is for 5th place. Up the inside goes. Is he going to pull it off? Are they going to clash? Well, de Bernardi decided, well, I can't back off anymore. I've got to turn into the corner. And Klaus-Dieter Freres got a little bit sideways in the Artega Rennsport 488 and did well to collect it. So that would have helped his tyres or his heart rate, it must be said. 3rd place still being fought very keenly by Stephen Earl and Coach McKenzie. Yesterday's 5th place for Coach McKenzie was his best finishing position there. Previously his best was at Misano in the opening round when he picked up an 8th. Christian Hook though, boy, he's not leaving any doors open right now. No respecter of the fact that Anthony Ponce will be quicker, needs to get past. He's just running the race he wants to run and holding down 7th place. I actually fancy that de Bernardi looks a little bit closer. Oh, he didn't make such a good exit from the final corner. Now this is a chance for Klaus-Dieter Freres. Gap between first and second almost halved, and you can see van Glabeke right on the tail into turn 1. He took 0.3 of a second out of the race leader, Christoph Ulrich. All really gained in the final, well, the second 2/3 of the lap. Stephen Earl driving defensively. Coach McKenzie just slightly dropping off his tail, and that's allowing Klaus-Dieter Freres to catch the black, blue and yellow Ferrari. Coach Christian Hook driving very well in his wake. Being egged on, no doubt, by having Anthony Ponce on his tail. Again, through the first part of the lap, it's the pace of Christoph Ulrich, the bravery through the very technical section that includes turns 1, 2 and 3. And then what we found on last lap with Patrick van Glabeke closes in, and he'll do so all over again. This time, van Glabeke stays off the curb, where Christoph Ulrich quite happy to go clattering over the top. All the chasers seem to be very wise to the curbs. Christian Hook rides them. There we go. Anthony Ponce semi-does. Oliver Baumann stays off them and didn't quite see for Louis-Philippe Sonnen. So some drivers prepared to really bump and grind their way around the lap, but others deciding smooth is best. Stephen Earl very, very smooth. Coach McKenzie now starting to be a little bit frustrated because Alexis de Bernardi and Klaus-Dieter Freres are starting to catch. There'll soon be a train of 4 cars, another half car length gained by De Bernardi on the run down from turn 11 to turn 12. Now they close in as they get to the penultimate corner, turn 13, around the back of the paddock, and then the steep climb, not just up to turn 14, but through the final corner. It climbs from entry to exit, and then you come out onto the start, finish straight. Coach McKenzie taking a bit of a wide line, but that's fine because De Bernardi wasn't close enough to challenge, but Klaus-Dieter Freres very much was to De Bernardi. Ran out of options, but he was prepared to have a little go just to unsettle De Bernardi. It didn't quite work this time. Gap between first and second, it was 0.4, it's out to 0.6. And then precisely 5 seconds further back is Stephen Earle. Coach McKenzie now really being challenged. His green Lamborghini being pushed by the black and blue and yellow Ferrari of Alexis De Bernardi, and behind him Klaus-Dieter Freres. Oh, Anthony Ponce has gone into the pits. I just noticed he's not on the tail of Christian Hook. Just looking out the window to see, has he come to a halt? Must be further up the pit lane, I cannot see, but into the pits. We'll see if he goes back out again, but he needed just a few points today to wrap up the title, and by parking in the pits he won't be getting them. Points go from 1st to 10th, but we have 10 runners, so as long as you're out there you will pick up some points. Oh, he's not in the pits, he's slowed down. He's just dropped off loads, just trying to see where it all went wrong. It seems to be the middle sector of the lap. Didn't pick up the incident, sorry, I saw a thing on the screen that suggested he'd get lost position rather than going to the pits. But you know what? He's hung back, he's just set the fastest first sector of anybody, so maybe he's decided it wasn't quite enough of a challenge to be running in 8th, he wants to run in 10th. And let's see how far behind he crossed the finish line, 10 seconds behind Louis-Philippe Sonnen in that white and green Ferrari, so I'm sure we'll see him in that first sector alone. There he is, still going around. So what was that incident? But come on, mate, he's now got clear track. He hasn't got Christian Hook ahead of him, and he's going to rumble around on his own. I'm sure will bring that down. Stephen Earle still in 3rd, Coach McKenzie 4th, 5th place still Alexis De Bernardi. Nothing changing, but I have a feeling it's all bubbling up nicely. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th round the final corner. Again, Klaus-Dieter Freres seems to have plenty of handling at that corner, but unfortunately he doesn't have the track position. So race leader Christoph Ulrich, it's about 0.8 of a second. He gained 1/10 of a second on that lap, but Patrick Van Glabeke just hanging in there. Stephen Earle now just actually stretching his legs a little bit as Coach McKenzie starts to notice that Alexis De Bernardi is hot on his tail. I think that was the case down at the final corner. Coach McKenzie just ran a little bit wide, so he couldn't put the power down as soon as he wanted, and that's how he lost a bit of ground to Stephen Earle. Earle only has to look behind him, whereas of course Coach McKenzie in that 4th place has to look in front of him to Earle and behind him to De Bernardi, and likewise De Bernardi is looking backwards as well to the challenge from behind from Klaus-Dieter Freres. But the first two, it's a simple, pure battle. 1st and 2nd covered by under a second. 10 minutes gone in this 40-minute main race for the Blancpain GT Sports Club for gentlemen drivers. And fastest lap of the race by some large margin, nearly over 1.5 seconds. Anthony Ponce, he's 6 seconds now behind Louis-Philippe Sonnen. Still, car number 7, the message has come up on the screen rather late. Spun and rejoined at turn 9. So the fiddly twisting section over the far side of the valley, it's the right-handed kink after you've got through. You come out of 6 and 7, then you go through a left-hand kink and then a rather sharper right-hand kink. So obviously 72 pressing a little hard, maybe trying to get right onto the tail of Christian Hook. Round he went, but now pressing on, and with every sector he goes through, he improves on the previous mark. So I think by the end of this lap he'll be right on the tail of Louis-Philippe Sonnen, who's running in 9th position. That is Anthony Ponce we're talking about, the driver who was first to the finish yesterday, but was given a 30-second penalty that put him down to 6th, which is where he started on the grid today. Didn't make the best of starts, lost positions, then he's had to spin at turn 9. So the driver who's had an exemplary run this season, making it hard work for himself, but he's still got half an hour to go. See what he can do from there. Now Coach McKenzie having to weave this way and that. You're allowed 1 defence but not 2, and he's had just the 1. So Alexis De Bernardi, I feel, has possibly not left enough braking capacity, so it proved. Down the inside he went. The opportunity was too exciting, too enticing to ignore. But unfortunately it's status quo. 3rd still Earle, who's actually got a bit more of an advantage now. McKenzie had to lose a bit of ground, had to stay out wide to let De Bernardi finish his outbraking. And then Klaus-Dieter Freres has just remained in 6th position. Let's have a look. It was exciting. It was a really good tow enjoyed by De Bernardi, but you can just see at this point the car, well, he hasn't done enough braking is the simple answer. So Coach McKenzie understood that, and you can see the velocity with which De Bernardi went past him, stayed out wide, let him go through, and then did his turning in while de Bernardi was getting to look at the barriers on the outside of the circuit. Plenty of runoff there, but they were getting bigger than he wanted them to be. Eventually he was able to turn right. So there's Stephen Earle, Kessel Racing Ferrari, still ahead of Coach Mackenzie, who's still, well, he's back ahead quite clearly of Alexis de Bernardi. And Klaus-Dieter Freres is again showing the sort of pace that suggests he is the fastest one of that quartet of drivers, but he's caught at the back of it. And the Hungaroring is famous for making it very hard for drivers to overtake. You really have to plan, and you have to almost have the car in front have a little bit of a slip up. Easily possible around here. De Bernardi, I have a sneaking feeling Klaus-Dieter Freres could be about to gain 2 positions in one fell swoop. Let's see, because de Bernardi is just determined at every possible outcome, every possible opportunity to attack and try and pass Coach Mackenzie. And this also is why I think Stephen Earle is able to just pull that little bit clear in 3rd place. Gap between 1st and 2nd, again it's enlarged. Another 10th gain by Christoph Ulrich, leading the race for AF Corsa from his AF Corsa teammate in the newer car, the 488, driven by Patrick Van Glabeke. Then there's a gap of 6.8 seconds back to Stephen Earle. He's got a cushion now of 1 second back to Mackenzie, who's gone a little bit wide. This is the chance de Bernardi was looking for. Will there be contact? No, these are gentlemen drivers, but it's as close as you can get. But Coach Mackenzie's on the right position, the inside line. No, he isn't. He was, but de Bernardi was able to have enough momentum out of turn 1 to complete the move. I thought that Mackenzie might be able to hang on, but he certainly has been put back into 5th place. Klaus-Dieter Freres will now attack him in the red and white Artega Rennsport Ferrari, but the persistence, and it really was a case of persistence for Alexis de Bernardi. 4th place is his. Now let's see what he can do about Stephen Earle. Stephen was a second or so up the track ahead of them. And again, Klaus-Dieter Freres seems to get plenty of performance from his Pirelli, seems to have really, really good grip as he gets used to the 488 Ferrari, a very, very wieldy racing machine. Patrick Van Glabeke had a much better opening part of this lap, 4/10 very nearly he gained on Christoph Ulrich in the 1st sector alone. Now here's a replay. What happened quite simply here is Coach Mackenzie left. It was his turn to leave his braking too late. He wasn't trying to make a passing manoeuvre, but Alexis de Bernardi was close enough to sense that that was a chance. Down the inside he went, and this is the point at which he was able to get the power down better out of turn 1. That's why he got down to turn 2 ahead of Coach Mackenzie. And now I really feel it's going to be no time at all before a move is made by, well, there we are. It will be a little bit more time because Klaus-Dieter Freres just got a little bit too close through turn 4 to the back of Coach Mackenzie. Sorry, through turn 12 and 13. Onto the start-finish straight they go. So just as I thought Freres would be able to make a manoeuvre, he isn't now. Alexis de Bernardi, I thought he might be able to get up very quickly onto the tail of Stephen Earle. He's done precisely that. Earle hasn't really been having any attack from behind. Coach Mackenzie was close but wasn't able to put one past him, wasn't able really to take a challenge. But Alexis de Bernardi is a far more persistent driver. And whereas Coach Mackenzie is finding his form, hitting his straps, and he's doing it very well indeed. But Alexis de Bernardi, a little more comfortable with his Ferrari, is able to really, really put the pressure on Stephen Earle. And even as they go into the bottom of the valley, he's taking a different line, trying to unsettle Earle. But Earle has been there, seen it, done it, got the T-shirt, been racing for so long, knows his Ferrari. Doesn't always get attacked around the outside at turn 5, it must be said. But Earle has done more than he needs to do to stay in that 3rd position. Up to 6 and 7 they go. So that was a very interesting line around the outside, well, the road to nowhere, one might suggest, at turn 5. Anthony Ponce, by the way, I haven't been keeping up with his progress. He's picked off Louis Philipson and he's picked off Oliver Baumann. His next target will be the driver he was behind when he went off the circuit, Christian Hook. The battle for 7th place, and yet again another pink time on the screen, just showing how the 72 Mercedes, the driver and car combination of this championship this year, has really set the pace in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, is on the charge. How far down is he overall on the race leader? 21 seconds on Christoph Ulrich. And finally, Klaus-Dieter Freres has got past Coach Mackenzie. He made that little mistake a lap or 2 ago and has picked him off. I said I reckon he was the fastest of this quartet. He's now up to 3rd position in the group. He's going to set off now again after Alexis de Bernardi. I think de Bernardi will be starting to shape up for another move. Not this lap, not close enough to Stephen Earle, but prepared to take a tighter line. No one challenging him in that battle for 3rd place. Let's just see who had the better lap last time around. Klaus-Dieter Freres No, De Bernardi, but Klaus-Dieter Freres was doing a bit of overtaking on that lap, so got slightly out of track position. That was why he was 0.3 of a lap slower, a second slower, and in fact took a very, very wide line just going out of turn 3. So here's the lead battle again. Christoph Ulrich no longer a second clear of Patrick van Glabeker. Glabeker coming back at him, then third is Earl, fourth is Alexis De Bernardi, but very, very strange line there through turn 2. Out of turn 2 to Klaus-Dieter Freres. So having said he seemed to have all the grip he wanted. Now, let's have a look at the replay. Well, that's how the move is done. With a little bit of, do we call it aplomb, bravado, or sheer guts down into turn 12. Not a lot of passing into there, and I think Coach Mackenzie was caught somewhat napping, but Klaus-Dieter Freres made the move, and now he's got it all back together again. He's on De Bernardi's tail, who's on Stephen Earl's tail. Stephen driving really, really well. Holding down that third place. He's now fallen to 8 and a bit seconds down on the lead battle, but his battle is the battle to hold on to third place. This will be his best result of the season, braking very late into turn 12. De Bernardi much more positive, maybe be close enough to have a little look into turn 13. No, he isn't. Now he's got Klaus-Dieter Freres back on his tail again. Klaus-Dieter's made a few rather strange cornering manoeuvres, but the sheer pace he has in the car and the sheer guts with which he drives it suggests he'll be ready to make a move very soon. And much better exit than De Bernardi onto the start-finish straight. Earl in third place. De Bernardi, the blue and black Ferrari, right in behind. We can't see. There's a bit of a gap. In fact, De Bernardi's found a bit more acceleration than I thought he had. Maybe he's just got close enough to pick a bit of a toe off Stephen Earl. I thought we were going to see a real challenge from Klaus-Dieter Freres. He might have slightly missed a gear coming out of the final corner, but certainly he had momentum coming out. And what you can see now, having been past Coach Mackenzie, falling back in 6th place. So there we have it, 0.933 of a second, the gap between Christoph Ulrich leading the way and Patrick van Glabeker. They're then nearly 9 seconds up on the chasing group. Stephen Earl in third place, pushed so hard by the 65 Ferrari of Alexis De Bernardi. This time he's not going for the super unusual around the outside run at turn 5. Klaus-Dieter Freres tucked in behind in the number 3 Ferrari. And Coach Mackenzie just gradually dropping off the back. You know who's just set the fastest first sector of anybody on the track? Alexis De Bernardi. He's the driver there, number 65, the blue and black Ferrari. How quick could he be if he wasn't right under the tail of Stephen Earl? So clearly some very good tyre life being enjoyed by Alexis De Bernardi. He's a driver who in the past has been known to use his tyres rather heavily in the first part of a race and have to pay the price. Certainly driving with massive bravado and enthusiasm. But can he get past Stephen Earl? Yeah, lost a lot of time behind him in the middle sector of the 3. Another lap started by Christoph Ulrich. The gap down by a fraction of a second, 0.2 of a second, down to 0.723. Then the battle for third, 4th, 5th and 6th. I think we can call it the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th because Coach Mackenzie is falling off their tail. It's still Stephen Earl in the 111 Ferrari. Behind him now, there's a gap from 4th back to 5th. So for Alexis De Bernardi, that is great news. Klaus-Dieter Freres, not such a good lap, no longer close enough to the tail of Alexis De Bernardi to trouble him. This means De Bernardi can concentrate on attacking the driver ahead, which isn't very good news if you're Stephen Earl, but he's shown great resistance so far. Let's see, can he do it all over again? Anthony Ponce up to 7th place, so he's demoted Christian Hook last time around. He's got to find nearly 5 seconds to catch Coach Mackenzie. Definitely within his remit. 19 minutes and a bit remaining. Up to turn 5 one more time. This is the 12th time the field has come through at racing pace. Stephen Earl holding off Alexis De Bernardi. And now 10 seconds or near enough behind the lead battle between Christoph Ulrich and Patrick van Glabeker. There's Coach Mackenzie, the only Lamborghini in the race in 6th place, and a flash of grey in the background shows that Anthony Ponce continues his charge. He's taken more than half a second off Mackenzie in the first third of this lap, so it suggests not a great deal of time to see. Wait for it. Here comes Anthony Ponce, driver who set the fastest lap of the race by some margin. His best is a whole second quicker than the next fastest driver's best lap, which is Patrick van Glabeker in 2nd place. And in fact, 2 seconds faster than the best lap of the driver in 3rd place, who's the driver leading that little group down to turn 14, or up to turn 14 as one should say. That's Stephen Earle, 2 seconds quicker. So Anthony Ponce will bang, he just banged in the fastest middle sector of all, so he's going faster and faster as he enjoys his chase. Still be kicking himself for whatever happened up at turn 9 when he went for a spin. And the team manager and the driver of car 17 to the stewards after the race, which is Coach McKenzie. So they feel that maybe he came, I don't know, I can't second guess. Of course, he had Klaus-Dieter Freres going past him, and the moment with Alexis de Bernardi looked fair to me. Don't leave me to second guess. What we can see and can enjoy is this battle for third place. Stephen Earle still holding off Alexis de Bernardi. What's happened? We had Klaus-Dieter Freres falling off his tail, but the number 3 Ferrari coming back at the 65 Ferrari, which again will take the pressure off Stephen Earle in the 1-1-1 for another lap or so, because here comes Klaus-Dieter Freres. Just as I said, he's a little bit erratic, but he does have great speed when he seems to want to apply, maybe makes a little slip up here, maybe gets a bit too closest to Alexis de Bernardi there, but he's right back on his tail. Now this is the incident oh well, here we go. Why do we think Coach McKenzie needs to go and speak to the stewards after the race? He did rather close the door. Again, we had a quick flash look at it in racing speed, and there was the replay down into turn 12. You'd have to presume that that will be the moment that has caught the steward's attention. Certainly would have caught the attention of Klaus-Dieter Freres as he had committed himself to going up the inside. There is Coach McKenzie in the Lamborghini. He was being dropped, but maybe the sight in his rearview mirror of Anthony Ponce making a charge, or maybe the fact just this grouping is fighting so hard. The Lamborghini, having been demoted by a couple of them, is now dropping, is no longer dropping away from the tail. Maybe he's been able to cool himself and the car down, and is starting to come back at them. But really a good run from Coach McKenzie. In fact, this lap, encouraged by those ahead, he's had his best first sector, his best second sector, and it looks like it's going to be his best lap of the race. Let's just see, does he improve on his previous mark? He certainly does, by nearly 6/10 of a second. So clearly he's now learning the lessons, watching the lines of those up ahead, those with greater experience, and really putting it to very good practice indeed. 40-minute race, we've nearly had 25 minutes. No pit stops due, no pit stops planned. Stephen Earle driving very, very well indeed, and he's going to be out later today, sharing with David Perel in the Blancpain GT Sprint Cup. So he's a busy man, making his trip over from the States all the more worthwhile this weekend. Christoph Ulrich very fleetingly had an advantage in the lead of over a second over Patrick Van Glabbeker, but ever since it's come back down. It's 0.883 of a second last time around. And yet again we see Van Glabbeker staying off the curbing at the chicane at turns 6 and 7, but Christoph Ulrich bounces his way across the top. Seems to be no damage done to the car though. So the Swiss racer continues in the lead, being chased very hard indeed by the Belgian Patrick Van Glabbeker in the 488 GT3. Down the hill out of turn 11, now coming up to turn 12. This is the corner where Coach McKenzie and Klaus-Dieter Freres got together over the curbing. There is Coach McKenzie, and all the closer behind him now is Anthony Ponce. Coach McKenzie in 6th, Anthony Ponce in 7th, as Alexis de Bernardi has a little look. Not going to be working there this time. So Stephen Earle hangs on. Coach McKenzie gets all the closer to Klaus-Dieter Freres and getting closer to all of them. There it is, right on the tail now of Coach McKenzie as they go out of turn 13 up to turn 14. Is the man who could, he should, he ought to be leading this race, but he fell down to the tail of the field. Started 6th, lost ground, and then something happened out at turn 9. Off the track went Anthony Ponce, and he's fought his way back up the order, gaining hand over fist on this grouping. Can't quite see him. There he is, just in the background. As Alexis de Bernardi says, enough is enough. Has he got the braking done? Hello. History is repeated, and he's lost now 4th place to Klaus-Dieter Freres. So Alexis de Bernardi, you cannot fault him for enthusiasm and having a go. Attack, but twice he's come unstuck by just getting too excited, going in too deep, too late into the first corner, and losing position. Hasn't lost the car off the track, but he has undone all the good work. But you've got to have a try if you want to get past. Out of turn 5 go the leading duo, Christoph Ulrich, just a whisker under 0.9 of a second over Patrick Van Glabbeker. Anthony Ponce over the curbs and far away at turn 4. Do that too many times and the stewards will take a look and throw some time penalties. He's getting right now on the tail of Coach McKenzie's Lamborghini, the battle for 6th place. So in fact, when, and I do say when because it is a question of when Anthony Ponce gets back up to 6th, that's where he started the race. So it would be very, very frustrating for him to have had that spin or whatever the off-track moment was and have all this work to do. But you know, when you've been in a position where you've been dominating a race meeting, it's quite good to do some racing yourself rather than just setting the pace from the front. There we are, that's an optimist view. Is it going to work down into turn 12? Well, Coach McKenzie knows how to close the door there. It wasn't close enough this time from Anthony Pons, but he's just having a little look here, a little look there in the 72 ASP Mercedes. Now, how good's his grunt in a straight line down the start-finish straight? Very wide line from Stephen Earle there, but that's because Klaus-Dieter Freres was being attacked by Alexis de Bernardi and was taking a defensive line, whereas Stephen Earle could pick his, so he should have a good run onto the straight. Is it a good run for Anthony Pons? Third place, Stephen Earle. Fourth place, Klaus-Dieter Freres. Fifth place, Alexis de Bernardi. A bit of a gap, then Coach McKenzie, and then Anthony Pons. Anthony does not have the pace relative to Coach in the Lamborghini, but the Lamborghini starting to struggle for front-end grip. It was really understeering on the turn into the turning point for turn 1, and he took such a tight line to hold off Anthony Pons that it wasn't the ideal racing line. Would have compromised his exit, but still the 72 Mercedes behind the number 17 Lamborghini. Status quo retained. Last lap, very good one for the race leader. Christoph Ulrich has gained, sorry, it was a penultimate lap, gained him half a second. He's only 1.5 seconds clear of Patrick Van Glavica. Boys, Stephen Earle would like to have 1.5 second advantage. It's down to less than half a second now over Klaus-Dieter Freres. The pressure really being piled on. So Freres made that move on Alexis de Bernardi. Well, Alexis de Bernardi made the move on himself, didn't he? Down into turn 1. So the positions changed. Freres in 4th, de Bernardi in 5th, Coach McKenzie in 6th, and then the man you're looking at there, Anthony Pons, the man who's got the pace, the man who's got the form, but he's found himself down in 7th position. Had a look, a lap ago down at this point in the circuit, turn 12. Just not enough chance in the run down from 11, down the slope from the far side of the valley to find a speed advantage. He's trying to see what he can do. Far more experienced driver than Coach McKenzie, but I would say Coach has really, really grown in form and stature this weekend. Start of the season was somewhat off the pace, but he's picked it up, getting to know the Huracan better and better. And really, I'm sure he would have had a thoroughly enjoyable late morning race here at the Hungaroring, getting to see the Ferraris, what they can do up ahead of him. But the whole point is he's sticking to their tails, not letting them get away. Earlier in the season wouldn't have had that opportunity to do so, and certainly his form is getting better and better, and with Anthony Pons closing in very hard from behind, we could have a run, third, fourth, fifth, 5-car run for third place effectively from Earle, Freres, de Bernardi, McKenzie and then Pons. But will it stay in that order for long? 10 minutes remaining. I have a sneaking feeling the order has some changes yet stuck up its sleeve. Bauman very much. He's running down in 9th, penultimate position, but suddenly from nowhere he just set his fastest lap of the race, so it shows that the pace is still there, the experience is still being gained. Louis-Philippe Sonnen, last time around, that was his best lap in 10th and last place, but finding his form, gaining experience. So this train of cars, Earle, Freres, de Bernardi, McKenzie and Pons, almost nose to tail, little gap just ahead of McKenzie and the Lamborghini. Flags on the graphics there, very much shared between the nations. 2 Belgians, but everyone else from different nations to each other. Sorry, 2 Germans, of course. Christian is German as well as Klaus-Dieter Freres. And again, down to turn 12, we have a little look from Anthony Pons. I'm really intrigued. This is the only place he sees fit to attack, and in fact, he slightly compromised his entry to turn 12. They had to do a little bit of a correction. Lost a tiny bit of momentum, and all momentum is required because Coach McKenzie seems to have the answers in a straight line, and in fact the gap between them has really gone out. That little step up into turn 12 from Anthony Pons, most uncharacteristic, but it's taken the pressure off the tail of Coach McKenzie. Gap between first and second comes down by a fraction. It's still 1.2 seconds though, it's still appreciable. No changes in behind, but de Bernardi, I think, has decided there's time for a bit more action, so he's getting closer and closer to Klaus-Dieter Freres. Coach McKenzie just driving so well, tucking in behind. And of the drivers in the top 7 positions, the driver who's held third place for so long, driving in exemplary form, has at the least quick fastest lap, if you will. 1 minute 48, all those behind 1 minute 47, the 2 in front 1 minute 47. And Anthony Pons at 1 minute 46.2, so way quicker than anybody else, but bottled up at the back of the grouping. Now here's Patrick Van Glavica, doing what he can. It ebbs and flows between them, but they're so evenly balanced. They were yesterday, but Christoph Ulrich could not find a way past. But importantly for him, he made the move around the outside, quicker away from the start-finish line, took the outside line down to turn 1, and there he took the lead, and he's been there ever since. Hasn't had to do the overtaking today. Overtaking is really proving a problem for Anthony Ponce. He very quickly caught up with this group, this quartet of cars. He's made it a quintet, but he's staying 5th in line. 7 minutes and 45 remaining until the checkered flag will be unfurled, so probably about 8 more minutes racing. So the time is now starting to count down. The points do go down to 10th place, so everybody out on the circuit will be picking up a point. And if Anthony Ponce stays where he is, he will pick up 6 points. That could be enough to give him the title. I'll have to just do some maths on that one. Christoph Ulrich continues in the lead of the race from Patrick Van Glabbeck at 1.4 seconds now. Then, wow, Stephen Earle suddenly starting to improve his form, almost at his fastest lap pace. Holding down 3rd place, 4 cars in behind him. But still Coach McKenzie able to hang on to that 6th position. And it's no fluke, he's been doing it for lap after lap. In a couple of forays, attempted manoeuvres from Anthony Ponce, but none have been serious enough to really, really trouble Coach McKenzie, looking remarkably comfortable. Alexis de Bernardi hasn't had an attack for a couple of laps. Is he building up for one, or has he got no tyre life left? We will find out. He's got the ability to close on to the tail of Alexis de Bernardi. But the more that he has Coach McKenzie on his own tail, the harder it will be for him. Where is the form? Where is the moment going to happen? Where is the attack coming from Anthony Ponce? He won't have spent much this season fighting with Coach McKenzie. He might have spent early races in the championship shaping up to lap him, but how the pendulum has swung the other way, and certainly great performance from Coach McKenzie, mixing it with the big boys now. Stephen Earle again quite happy to take the wider line through turn 14, the tightest line of all being taken by Anthony Ponce, but couldn't unseat Coach McKenzie as Earle got the better acceleration down the start-finish straight. I think he probably has as he comes on down the hill. Nothing Freres can do, but Freres starting to take a look up the inside. Now that will be some sucker for Alexis de Bernardi if he thinks that the Ortega Rennsport Ferrari driver, Klaus-Dieter Freres, ahead of him, he's going to start making manoeuvres to try and get past Stephen Earle. That could open out a chink in his armour, and it might be able to be exploited. For now, Klaus-Dieter Freres hitting the curb on the inside at turn 4, going a little bit wide, but now looking as though he's closer than ever before to the tail of Stephen Earle. Can Stephen hang on for just the next 5 minutes or so to take what will be a very, very well-earned 3rd place? Still Earle in 3rd place, still Freres, de Bernardi, McKenzie and Ponce. Super close now, closer than ever been before, vaulting off the curb there. At turn 8, certainly Ponce is on the charge. He's attacking. But is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Is he going to be able to make a move on McKenzie? McKenzie's taking the, how should we say, the middle line on the circuit there to retain his position, his 6th position, trying so hard to hold on to it, but it's getting very close indeed to the tail now of Alexis de Bernardi. Yet again, Stephen Earle has just enough of a lead over Klaus-Dieter Freres to be able to take that wide line around turn 14, the easier line on the tyres, just far enough ahead to feel that Klaus-Dieter Freres isn't close enough to make an attack. These drivers lapping within 1/10 of a second here. Different line from Anthony Ponce, but the pace of the Lamborghini in a straight line, very good indeed. So no advantage to be gained by Anthony Ponce, who continues lap after lap to try and get past. Behind him, Christian Hook some way back down the circuit, another 18 seconds further back, and then Oliver Baumann, the SLS Mercedes, about another 4.6 seconds back on him, and then the final runner, Louis-Philippe Sonnen, in 10th and last place, has just set his fastest lap of the race. Looks set to possibly even improve on that when he comes around to complete his lap. He is some distance further behind the number 50 Ferrari, but does he set another fastest lap? Yes, he does. But he's another 14 seconds down on Oliver Baumann's Mercedes. 14 seconds, no such luxury for Stephen Earle, though. He's got right on his tail now, Klaus-Dieter Freres. But seems to be equal to all that can be thrown at him. Third place will almost never have been more fiercely fought in the Blancpain GT Sports Club. And I must say, the driving has been of a far greater standard. It's great to see these top runners in the championship really showing how much they've developed through the course of racing in this series. Of course, racing on these great circuits, racing alongside the Blancpain GT Sprint Club and GT Endurance Cup, tips to be taken from the paddock. But Stephen Earle, who races in both, very content in that third position. He'll get out, he'll have had a hot morning workout. When you're over 40 minutes in a hot cockpit around the Hungary, it's now Freres are much closer, but he'll have the compromise exit from the corner. Stephen Earle has done it again. A wide entry has worked, but a very wide exit from Stephen, but that's because he had his foot down, didn't want to pull it back across too tightly. But is this the moment that Klaus-Dieter Freres deposes him for third place? Stephen Earle will have to start coming across towards the apex, has done enough to cover it. In fact, turned out to be very defensive. That allowed Alexis de Bernardi to catch right up. But no move from de Bernardi. Coach McKenzie in the background. He can do nothing, but he's still holding off Anthony Ponce, and we're into the final, almost into the final minute. So the lead battle. In fact, it's the last few laps have been very good indeed for our race leader, Christoph Ulrich, because he's pulled out a 2.9 seconds lead. Last time I checked that interval, it was 1.8 seconds. So they've been good actually last time around. The chaser was faster, and Patrick Van Glabbeker closing in all over again. But the fact he's not right on the tail of the 51 Ferrari just goes to show out of turn 11. Wow, that lead has really gone out in the favour of our race leader, Christoph Ulrich. Yeah, that really has gone out. I couldn't quite see where exactly the time was lost. It wasn't the last lap, it was the lap before. But the laps are starting to run out. Will Stephen Earle hold on to a really hard-fought third position? But now, coming down out of turn 11, there could be a charge down into turn 12. Not close enough for Klaus-Dieter Freres. Not close enough for Anthony Ponce at the back of that pack. Christoph Ulrich in the 51 Ferrari could be heading for his first win of the year. He was second yesterday. His best result before he came here was fourth at Spa-Francorchamps. Certainly look at his results. The numbers are getting lower on the results page, therefore the results are getting better and better. Oh, I thought we were about to have contact there. And now's the moment that Anthony Ponce has finally got his nose in front. He's deposed Coach McKenzie. 3 seconds to go, 2 seconds, 1 second. The checkered flag can now come out, but that means that the race leaders are on their final lap. So is this quintet of cars. I think they all squeaked past. It's quite possible, actually, that Coach McKenzie, the back of the pack, did not, but we will find out. Checkered flag had been waved as the group was coming through. Anthony Ponce certainly made it past. He is now right on the tail of Alexis de Bernardi, and nothing like having a fresh challenger. So Coach McKenzie seemed to have the measure of Anthony Ponce as Ponce made his charge. But now what can Alexis de Bernardi do? Ponce very deep into the final corner. It sort of took Coach McKenzie with him. It often happens if a driver breaks late, the one behind takes his braking off him, and they both went a little bit wide, and that gave the opportunity for Anthony Ponce to come through. Now Anthony making a move. I thought it might come on Alexis de Bernardi. That's up at turn 5. De Bernardi went wide there of his own volition. He must say he went wide there this time because he was pushed wide by Anthony Ponce. I thought the attack might come, the change of personnel. I was just talking about it. And Stephen Earle not even touching the curbs through 6 and 7. He has driven such a good race in third place. But there is our race leader coming down to turn 12 for the final time. Second was his best until now, barring any late penalties being thrown at him, and I can see no reason for that to happen. Christoph Ulrich is coming through to take what will be a win that thoroughly delights the Swiss racer. There he goes. Patrick Van Glabbeker kept him honest for a while, but gradually in the final few laps just dropped away from the tail. And the checkered flag coming out for Ulrich, so it's an AF Corsa Ferrari 1-2. reverse of yesterday's finishing positions. And now Alexis de Bernardi fighting back, trying to go up the inside of Ponce into turn 13. No can do. He might as well try at turn 14 as Ponce tries to go around the outside, if you will, of Klaus-Dieter Freres. But really in this grouping, I think the best news of all is Stephen Earle had so much pressure heaped upon him, but he has come through for his best result in this year's Blancpain GT Sports Cup. 3rd place. So, wow, what a finish. Super, super close. That bunch from 3rd through to 7th position. Their eventual finishing order was Stephen Earle held onto 3rd place, Klaus-Dieter Freres 4th, Anthony Ponce made it 2 places in a lap and a half to go into 5th, then Alexis de Bernardi 6th, Coach McKenzie 7th, there's Christian Hook finishing in 8th. In the background of the shot there you can see Oliver Baumann, the penultimate finisher, in 9th place, and Louis-Philippe Sonnen, I think, did he just squeak onto the same lap? No, here he comes. So the checker flag is out, but what is undeniable is Christoph Ulrich took that victory from Patrick Van Glabeke. Van Glabeke, when he realised he was beaten, he backed off the last few laps because the interval went out from 1.4 seconds to 5.1 seconds. So knew he was beaten. There's Louis-Philippe Sonnen, the final finisher. All 10 finishers on the same lap. So, what a race for AF Corsa with their Ferraris. 2 of them out there, and no wonder the hand raised aloft by today's winner, Christoph Ulrich. Iron Cup winner in 3rd place overall, ahead of yesterday's Iron Cup winner. So it's Stephen Earle ahead of Klaus-Dieter Freres. 5th place, I think that's probably enough on points. I haven't quite taken my shoes and socks off to work it out, but that should be enough, I think, for Ponce to take the championship. Or does he go to the final round needing about 1 point? But either way, it was a race of surprises for him. He had to fight his way from the back of the field, and that he did, but got caught in that wonderful battle. That group, that quartet became a quintet in the battle for 3rd place. Got in among them. He managed to pick off 2 in the final couple of laps, but 5th place was his eventual result. So Christoph Ulrich coming into Parc Fermé, into the pit entry road. And Patrick Van Glabeke will follow him in. So there it is, the bright red of Christoph Ulrich's Ferrari, the red, white and green flashes. And then the darker red entry will be following him in, which is Patrick Van Glabeke with a marvellous shield on the door. But today, to the victor of the spoils, and the victor this morning at the Hungaroring in the Blancpain GT Sports Club is Christoph Ulrich. Slides his seat back so he can facilitate his exit. Bravo, 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 you can hear. And he's pretty happy with that. You don't go racing to come 2nd. Here's Patrick Van Glabeke. He took the win yesterday, and I'm sure they enjoyed their battle. And Stephen Earle, I think, would have enjoyed it even more because he really, really had to go out and fight. So there's Patrick Van Glabeke at a 1-2. They'll have enjoyed their 2 days of practice, of qualifying and of racing here at the Hungaroring, a circuit that is a real joy to race around. But for those who are chasing, they know how hard it is to overtake, which makes any passing manoeuvre all the more sweet. Helmet off, cap on. So let's go down and hear the thoughts of our winner. He likes it, Christoph Ulrich.
Congratulations, you look well happy with that.
Yes, very happy. I started racing 2 years ago, 2016, with the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Straight away with AF Corsa. I struggled for sure last year because the competition is quite high, and we worked up. The team helped me so a lot. My coaches, Michele Ruccolo and Maurizio Mediani, they teach me and coach me all the time. We tested here about 2 weeks ago, and I think we have found the tents we needed. And today, yesterday I finished 2nd, and today at the start I said all or nothing. So, and then I was able to manage it. So in between it was quite tough. It's hot and the concentration needs to be there. But I'm very happy. Just I'm extremely exhausted.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dakota. Down with, well, there's a story, isn't it? I started racing last year, but with those coaches like Michele Ruggolo, just That's what AF Corsa can provide you. And this is what the Blancpain GT Sports Club is all about. It's getting out and racing fantastic GT3 cars. And for Christoph Ulrich, it's about learning all the time, and he's learnt incredibly well. Second yesterday was his best result, and now today he's toppled that. But as you said, he said, he took the risk on the run to the first corner. He made it pay, made it work for him. So great result, and hats off to a driver achieving her win. But the winner of the Iron Cup, Stephen Earle, had the battle of all. He held down third place against some much younger chargers.
Well done. That was some great defending. It was very exciting to watch.
It was as exciting to watch as it was to race. Klaus was very good with the new car, and I knew I had to get by at the beginning and then just do my pace. Because of the 6 races I did in advance yesterday, I'm kind of not much gas, so I'm going to go take a shower and lay down before the sprint race.
You happy with the result today?
Yes.
Good. Well deserved.
Back in the lead of the championship.
Good. Congrats.
So Stephen Earle, our Iron Cup winner, perhaps one of the busiest drivers here this weekend, competing also in the Blancpain GT Sprint Cup. And when you're north of 60, that's no small feat in this high temperature, high humidity. But boy, he loves his racing, and he did not put a wheel out of line today. So great respect there to Stephen Earle. He'll be up on the podium shortly before heading off for his little lie down and a chance to cool down here at the Hungary ring. So plenty of action in that race for Anthony Ponce. He went towards the back and then worked his way forward. But it was Christoph Ulrich winning by 5.1 seconds over his AF Corsa teammate, Patrick van Glabiker. So for a driver achieving his first win, that's a great result. Stephen Earle won the Iron Cup for the drivers aged 60 and over, but he held off that train of cars behind. Klaus-Dieter Frers, Anthony Ponce fell down to last place, having spun, worked his way back to 5th. A few more laps, he might have taken the battle to Earle and Frers, but De Bernardi ended up in 6th, Coach McKenzie in 7th, then a bit of a gap back to Christian Hook. Oliver Baumann and Louis-Philippe Sonnen, and Karim Oj unfortunately did not get to start. He had engine damage after an off-track moment last night. So there, I think, is confirmation of the points. That's the confirmation is that Anthony Ponce is this year's Blancpain GT Sports Club champion, because no one can overhaul him. Christoph Ulrich has moved with that win into 2nd place. Karim Oj, no points this weekend, and demoted to 3rd overall. Daniel Perfetti also not here. But the real news there is Christoph Ulrich, with that win, promoted to 2nd place. But overall, Anthony Ponce can no longer be touched. He is the champion for 2017. The final round coming at Barcelona on the 30th September and the 1st of October. And now in the lead, only by 3 points in the Iron Cup. That will all go all the way to Spain. Klaus-Dieter Frers finished behind him on the track, and therefore their positions are swapped. Stephen Earle holds the bragging rights all the way down to Spain. Louis-Philippe Sonnen picked up some points as well. And we cannot wait to go to that final round. Blancpain GT Sports Club has had a great year so far. 1 round still to come, but as the drivers go to cool down, it's a case of biggest smile of all on the face of Christoph Ulrich, having bagged that first win. And Stephen Earle, he'll be challenging him in the Big Smile Stakes. He's got some more racing to do today, but he took the victory in the Iron Cup, but his best result of the year, 3rd place overall. Shows how the old boys are taking it to the young guns at the front of the championship. No disrespect to Stephen by calling him an older boy. There he is, out on the podium. He'll be putting that, I think, hopefully a fresh set of overalls for the Blancpain Sprint Cup. Patrick van Glabiker, he's very happy with life too with that 2nd place. And Christoph Ulrich, I think, might like to get used to standing on that top step. Just look at the joy. This is why the drivers come out racing. So the Swiss national anthem for Christoph Ulrich. Quite a story from not racing to racing, and within 2 years you're up on the top step of a podium. Won a GC3 race. So all trophies gratefully received, but I think your first winning trophy will be just so super special for Christoph Ulrich. Stephen Earle, you can hear how popular that was. His Kessel Racing crew shouting up from below the podium. Then the 2 AF Corsa Ferrari drivers. Patrick van Glabiker, he had the winner's trophy yesterday, and the 2nd today, a good haul for him. The other way around, 2nd yesterday for Christoph Ulrich, but the win, that's his first win at this level, and that will be very special indeed, and I'm sure he'll soak up the atmosphere through the rest of the day and see this as a very special weekend in his racing career. So it's Ferraris 1, 2, 3 and 4. Anthony Ponce ended up 5th in his Mercedes here in Hungary, but he has wrapped up the championship. And of course, the drivers like the fizz. Out it comes onto the podium, and with no further racing for all but Stephen Earl, the winner Christoph Ulrich and Patrick Van Glabber can afford to really celebrate. But for Stephen, he's gone to maybe just go and cool down a little bit ahead of his race again later today. So great action from the 10 runners in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, and for them, their weekend is now finished. But a very, very special day, particularly for that man there, Christoph Ulrich. You could feel how he was still pumped up when he came off, and I think the adrenaline will now start to seep away, and he'll have that warm glow of satisfaction. So there we had it. That was the Blancpain GT Sports Club. That was the main race, and they certainly provided plenty of very, very close racing action. But the plaudits to Christoph Ulrich. Maximum points to Christoph Ulrich, but the title for 2017 to Anthony Ponce, who came away, if you look at his results, a 6th and a 5th. Not what he expected, but it was enough for the title. Here's Louis-Philippe Sonen, 3rd place in the Iron Cup. 2nd place in the Cup for the over 60s. Going to the driver who finished 4th, that's Klaus-Dieter Freres, and back onto the podium. Let's welcome Stephen Earl. More spring in his step, up onto the top step. Oh yes, I hate winning, he says. Yeah, that's why you go racing, isn't it, Stephen? So the strains, the Star-Spangled Banner means a lot to Stephen Earl. Waiting for the trophies to come out for the top 3 in the Iron Cup. Louis-Philippe Sonen picking up the trophy for 3rd place. He'll be delighted with that. Klaus-Dieter Freres tried very hard to get the one for the winner. He has to end up in 2nd place in the class, but he'll be pretty happy with that too. He gave it a good go, but Stephen Earl deserves all the plaudits. He defended so hard, didn't let himself get fazed by those who were pushing him. Just shows all those years of racing experience and experience of racing Ferraris. He really knows his craft. Coming to the front for the photographs. That'll be another one for the album for Stephen Earl. Trophies aloft. So congratulations to the top 3 finishers in the Iron Cup of the Blancpain GT Sports Club. Stephen Earl in the middle, Klaus-Dieter Freres on the left of your screen, and Louis-Philippe Sonen, Belgian racer, going to pick up their fizz. Stephen does want some fizz, so he didn't take it for the top 3 podium, but he doesn't have any gas in the bottle. So you take the win, you take the soaking, Stephen, but that's what it's all about. So delighted Stephen Earl. Klaus-Dieter Freres will be happy with his 2nd place. Louis-Philippe Sonen takes the points for 3rd place overall in the Iron Cup. Plenty of racing out there. So let's take a look at the highlights at what went on in the 40-minute main race. At the start, Christoph Ulrich had a better run down to the turn 1, and then Patrick Van Glabber had to be defensive to try and hold off Stephen Earl, who moved his way up into 3rd place. Klaus-Dieter Freres into 4th, then Anthony Ponce, who started 6th, lost a bit of ground. There we are, losing a bit of line there, Klaus-Dieter Freres. Now Anthony Ponce on the chase, getting in after, well, as we have De Bernardi chasing down Coach McCanty and passing him. You just see Ponce fighting very hard with Christian Hook, but De Bernardi twice in the race just braked too late, trying to do a passing manoeuvre down into turn 1 and would have to do it all over again. Coach McCanty worked super hard. He had a lot of drivers trying to pass him. Some got past, but once they did, he stuck on their tail. Yeah, got very close indeed to Alexis De Bernardi. At this point in the race, Klaus-Dieter Freres trying to catch up with Coach McCanty. They were going to come to blows later in the event. And here's the moment at turn 12 where I'll take a body check there. Coach McCanty coming across on Klaus-Dieter Freres. And this is the moment, the 2nd moment at which Alexis De Bernardi outbraked himself down into turn 1. Klaus-Dieter Freres going past him and then bottled up behind him. He'd had a spin. Anthony Ponce went down to 10th and last position. Then he caught the tail end of this group, and right at the end of the race, he got inside Coach McCanty to gain a position. He then, halfway around the next lap, picked off another position at turn 5. Alexis De Bernardi, finding the snout of the Mercedes coming up the inside, had to cede position and that was as high as Ponce went. Got up to 5th place overall, but having held off Patrick van Glabeke all race, it was victory to Christoph Ulrich, eventually by over 5 seconds, as van Glabeke admitted defeat and backed off. They certainly didn't back off in the chasing group. Coming around the corner, the last corner for the final time, Stephen Earle wins the Iron Cup in 3rd place overall. Klaus-Dieter Frez chased in by Anthony Ponce, but a chance to wave his hand out of the window. Victory today to Christoph Ulrich. That's it for now.